welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner. And with me today, I have two special guests, the executive directors for our elementary schools, Dr. Kim Gray and Miss Jacqueline Chavis. Welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you.
You guys are new to your positions and you have great responsibilities. Share with us first, Dr. Gray, what do you all do?
Well, Karen, one of our main responsibilities is being that direct support to our principals, whether it be supporting our academic program or the operations of the school. It's really ensuring that the district redesign of literacy and leadership is truly being implemented as we'd like to see it in every building, and being able to be that support if a principal has a question regarding anything with redesign, with literacy or leadership, or as I said, things that are operational that may impact the instructional program if they're not going as well as we would like to see.
I think also having both of us been principals in our previous lives, it also helps gives us an understanding of what the needs might be of a building, because we've lived it, we've experienced it, and so we can share those experiences with our principals.
So what are some of the things you're learning about the principals that they need?
I think being able to support the day-to-day instruction, and all of our buildings are unique. Every building has a different culture, has different specific needs, and Jackie and I have really had the opportunity to already visit each of our principals within their building. We've had a chance to begin looking at their data to see where schools may have similar needs that we can come together and collaborate, and possibly where some schools have some unique needs that may only be for their particular building.
And you mentioned, Ms. Chavis, that you all are past principals.
That's right.
So how do you think some of your past experiences can support your principals now?
Well, the instructional background that we both have, as well as working with the community, involving our parents, not just to engage them in the education process, but keeping them engaged and involving them in the leading and learning of their children. That's a support of our principals as well. So really engaging the community, keeping parents informed is a key to the business, making sure the community is informed about what we do and what we're about as a school system. Things are changing over time within the state with their requirements, the government with requirements, and keeping our principals and communities informed about those changes.
So in your roles, how are you supporting instruction in the schools?
I think we both had the opportunity to already visit multiple classrooms with the principal, or in some cases with some of our specialists from central office. I know that Gwen was recently on talking about reading, and we've had the chance to be in reading classrooms with her so that the principal can see both the support from the teacher specialist as well as from the two of us. So that really helps to bring the same consistent message as we continue to work on literacy being one of our redesign focuses. It really helps to shore that up between all parties that support a principal.
Even providing the resources that they need to do the job, whether it's the principal or down to the teacher level, what happens in that classroom is key, and both the principal and teachers need to have the resources available to them to do the job that's expected. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping abreast of what the needs are in their buildings, and all those things impact instruction.
So you're true support for the principals.
Yes.
You're really background support.
That's right.
So how is it that you're having the principals meet on a regular basis? How productive is that, or how does that work for principals? How much support is that for them?
Again, I think there's some things that we do overall together, and then we meet with our individual clusters based on specific needs. We go out to schools and meet one-on-one with principals if that's necessary. We also find that we're kind of the people who can help connect principals, because a lot of times we have their own answers right here within our own district, and it's really connecting people. We're getting ready to do some work on progress monitoring, where principals will have the opportunity to share what may be working in their building with other principals so that they can learn from each other, as really we see us all as lifelong learners, not just stopping learning at the K-12 piece.
So what? Yeah, go ahead.
To also have principals be able to visit each other's schools to kind of see the work in action. It could be based on similar needs or similar challenges or similar areas of focus, so they can see that work from a building perspective, from another principal's bird's eye view, and to be able to get in there and see that work.
And sometimes do you think it's important that even where we used to have like the feeder schools, for those particular principals to come together because they know what's happening in the community, and then their kids are going from elementary, middle, and high school? How do you think that supports the principals and the students?
The vertical collaboration is key because the teachers can talk with each other about what they're seeing over time from one year to the next with children. If there are areas that they see the children are coming very strong, knowing and mastering, that's good feedback for the school that they're leaving. Also, if there are challenges that exist historically, longitudinally, when we look at the data, that's also good feedback to that sending school.
So why is it important for principals to have professional development and ongoing professional development?
I think as Jackie has shared, there's always change on the horizon, whether it's from the state perspective, locally what our expectations are, or on a national level with education. And if we stay stuck in what we started with possibly as a principal 20 years ago, some of our principals have been in, we're really not ensuring that the very best is happening for students every single day. And so being that learner and wanting to gauge whether it's from going to conferences or things that we do here within the district to learn. I know we've had principals that have often teamed up, as Jackie had shared, and visited each other's schools. And I think we're very fortunate in Norfolk to have a group of principals who are willing to share and all learn from each other, because really our goal is all 36,000 of our boys and girls, not just the students that are within our own building or our own clusters.
So why is it important to have good leadership in our buildings?
Because everything starts with the leader in that building. They set the stage, they set the atmosphere for what happens in that school. And so where they place their priorities is a good indication to the parents, to the students, and to the faculty, those things that are important. We are to model best practices, and so again, the PD comes in good hands when we're showing principals what's appropriate at the building level and how they can then lead their schools.
And you've been talking about literacy earlier. Tell us, why is it so big this year? Why is it a theme or a focus on literacy this year, and how do you support that in our schools?
Okay, this summer we had the opportunity in the work with Dr. Boone, and as she developed, looking at what is our redesign going to look like for Norfolk Public Schools, and certainly literacy is one of the cornerstones of that piece. We all know that the foundation of literacy will help support a child throughout schooling, throughout their college years, and obviously into adulthood. So when we start that young with students and getting the joy of reading and the love of reading, and really understanding the higher level thinking that happens now that goes into reading with a lot of the work that we're doing in the elementary level, so that students not only read for the basic understanding, but really that higher level of being able to critically analyze work even at the elementary level. So when we have that focus on literacy, it runs across all subject areas, not just the English and the reading areas.
And I hope parents that are at home watching this are like, yeah, I really want to get engaged now.
That's
When
right.
Jackie, if they wanted to get engaged, how can they reach out if they have an idea or a concern? Who do they reach out to?
I would suggest they start with the building principal. Each principal, there's a parental involvement component to their school improvement planning process. PTA is extremely helpful and supportive of the work of the schools, keeping parents informed of what's happening in those buildings and how they can engage in the process. And so I think starting with the building principal, some of our schools, Title I schools, have a parent liaison that can connect with parents and keep them informed of what's happening in the schools. They can also help by spreading the word about the wonderful things that are happening in Norfolk Public Schools. And so we need to be on board with expressing to our parents how they can help us, and that would begin with the building principal.
So how can they also, at home, help out their child and their school to be successful?
Absolutely, and certainly reading every day is one of the best things you can do for your child, regardless of their age. I know often in the schoolhouse, when I knew that students had younger siblings, we would always say to them, "Are you reading to your brother and sister each evening?" And we would say to them, even as young as just coming home from the hospital, it really has been research proven that when students hear the cadence of reading and the way the wording sounds, that truly impacts some of their early learning. So I would just say reading to your baby every day, letting them see you as a reader, whether it's the newspaper or a favorite magazine that they know you get, that they see, wow, mom reads or dad reads, grandma reads, that is huge. And I think using great vocabulary with them on a regular basis and really taking time to have deep conversations about the simple things.
Make it exciting. I mean, mom's in the kitchen cooking or dad's in the kitchen cooking, reading recipes, involving the children in that work as well. Just reading signs as you're driving down the road. We used to read license plates and try to play a guessing
Yes.
game. So that also increases their critical thinking skills. So make it fun, and then the things that parents enjoy doing, the children will see that, and then they will get that love as well.
And these are great tips and great information for our parents and grandparents at home, or all parents and guardians.
That's right.
So thank you all for coming on the show today and sharing this awesome information with us.
Thank you.
And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. Coming up, the middle school football championship at Powhatan Stadium. Norview Navigators versus the Azalea Gardens Rockets.
We'd like to remind everyone that the concession stand is open. The concession stand is open. Turn it forward.
all. Great game.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
And listen, and like I told everybody, as I told Azalea, both of you all played a good game.
Thanks to everyone that
somebody
participated.
Somebody had to win and somebody had to
Drive
lose. But
safely.
remember, there were only two teams that made it this point. And both of you all made it. So everybody's to be proud. And I'm most proud of superintendent.
Yes, ma'am.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome back to NPS Now. With us today is D. Timothy Billups, our Executive Director for Human Resources. Welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you.
Hi, it's glad to have you. You've been on the job how long now?
I've been here now for approximately 7 months.
7 months.
Yes.
So what exactly does an Executive Director of Human Resources do?
Okay. As Executive Director of Human Resources for our district, I'm responsible for the overall operation of human resources and the oversight. So that would include all of the activities relative to recruitment and selection, employee relations, disciplinary matters, as well as making sure that the district is legally defensible in anything that we do. So I work very closely with the superintendent as well as the school board to make sure that actions and activities that we participate in, we're actually defensible in those actions.
Well, I'm abbreviate human resources to HR. So how
Right.
does HR operate here in Norfolk Public Schools?
Basically, how HR operates here is we have human resources generalists for all of our areas. So we have a human resources generalist for elementary recruiting, a human resources generalist for secondary recruiting, classified staffing, as well as exceptional education staffing, as well as the staffing of substitute teachers. So each of those individuals are responsible for the recruitment and selection as well as the employee relations activities for individuals, prospective candidates, as well as employees within those areas. And then each of those individuals, they have a support person who works very closely with them. Also in human resources, we have a licensure specialist. This person is a person who works very closely with, again, prospective employees as well as current employees on licensure matters relative to their teaching licenses. So they are basically our liaison with the Virginia Department of Education when it comes to teacher licensure. And then we have another individual who works very closely on all of our contracts for all of our employees. So it's a very unique team that has many different parts that make it successful.
And you've been in human resources for how many years?
I've been a human resources professional for about 25 years now, over 4 different industries.
Okay, and you do have experience in the private sector and school system sector. So what's the difference or what's the similarities in both?
One of the biggest differences when you work for a school system basically is the customer that you serve. We are serving children, minors. So there are many rules, regulations, policies, and procedures that govern how you work with and support children. And that's a little bit different than when you work in the private sector, because in the private sector, you're working very closely, of course, with adults. So because we are governed very closely by many different types of organizations and agencies within the school system, we in Human Resources have to make sure that, once again, that everything that we do is legally defensible and that we're operating with the best interest in mind, which is for the students and being a student-centered organization.
All right. What type of training do our HR staff receive?
HR staff, it's interesting, when you work in human resources, one of the first things that's important is to know the organization, know the business that you're in. So by us working for a school system, it's very critical to first understand school operations, how that works, the importance of how all of these pieces and parts work together. So it's critical that individuals first understand the business. In this case, how does a K-12 environment work? Additional training would be understanding things about licensure, the Virginia Department of Education, how that fits in there, because that governs so much of what we do. So that's a huge piece of it right there, understanding your organization and the governing bodies that govern your organization. After that, as far as human resources training goes, there's so many areas of human resources that one could get trained in, such as the recruitment pieces, benefit sections, employee relations, all of those. So we have a credentialing, there's a credentialing sources out there such as the Society of Human Resources Management, as well as IPMA, International Personnel Management Association. Those organizations provide training also. And one thing about human resources that makes it unique is that whatever is going on in our world and our environment, that could affect gravely how human resources moves forward. So if something happens in the world to change how we treat people, how we work with people, then we as human resources professionals have to make sure that we also abide by that and incorporate the appropriate information.
Speaking of that too, what is one of our biggest struggles in HR?
One of our biggest struggles in HR right now is the recruitment and the retention of teachers. That's a huge struggle. That's not only regional and statewide, but nationally. How do we recruit and retain the qualified teaching staff? And so that's probably one of the biggest things that we're all faced with right now, because there are fewer individuals actually going into the world of education right now. So that makes it a little bit difficult.
What are the positions that we're currently recruiting for all year?
Currently, we are recruiting for teachers, of course.
Of course.
Obviously, you want to open up your school year with a full complement of teachers. However, that's not always possible. Sometimes individuals could be militarily deployed. There could be folks who have medical situations, as well as, because there's critical shortage issues within the state, there are certain positions that they're just difficult to recruit for and to maintain anyway. So we always have our teaching positions on our website for recruitment, because we're always looking for prospective candidates as a result of anticipating some attrition that may happen.
So how do we attract and retain qualified personnel? And I'm speaking of teachers, bus drivers, the positions that we have open.
Right. One of the ways that we want to attract, obviously, and retain, obviously we attend all of our local job fairs and all those things. However, we are looking at doing some different things. We're developing what we call an employee value proposition for Norfolk Public Schools. Don't want to say a whole lot about that because, again, just in case some of our competitors are watching this show,
don't tell secrets.
We don't want to tell all of our secrets, but we do have some exciting things planned as far as looking at some new opportunities for some recruitment initiatives. But basically, look just out there looking everywhere we can for qualified staff to join us with now, like I said, working very closely with our staff here to develop this EVP to help us even more so as we are out there recruiting for and looking for the next greatest teacher in Norfolk.
Right, and do we have any upcoming job fairs?
We don't have any upcoming job fairs that we are sponsoring. However, we do sponsor our own periodically throughout the course of the year. So over the course of this school year, we probably will have anywhere from 3 to 5 of our own job fairs. However, coming up soon, our staff members will be attending a job fair in Richmond, Virginia. It's the Virginia Association of School Personnel, the VASPA organization, is hosting a job fair, and we'll be attending that. A number of us will be going to that particular job fair, as well as later towards the end of this month, we're hosting our own prospective meet and greet.
Oh, good.
And what that is, and which is something in which we've invited graduates that are graduating from all of the neighboring schools in December, as well as universities in December, as well as Virginia-wide, statewide, to come and meet and be greeted by our Norfolk principals, who can basically interview them on the spot to see if this is a candidate that they'd be interested in for the new school year, or perhaps to fill a vacancy that we currently have. So this is our entry into the beginning of looking at December grads. So we've tried to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And so far we've gotten quite a lot of interest in this. So this should be a great event.
Sounds like we have a lot going on in HR,
Certainly.
more than what people could ever expect or imagine.
Yes.
So if someone's interested in joining the NPS family, what do they need to do?
If someone is interested in joining Norfolk Public Schools, the first start would be to simply go to our great new redesigned website.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful. And go to our website and look at the employment opportunities, because all of our positions, whenever they're available, are always going to be advertised there. So you begin your process there. It's a full description of any position that we have available, so that individuals can get the information that they need, read over the information, as well as all of our contacts are there. So whoever they need to speak to, whether it's elementary, somebody from elementary, secondary, exceptional education, or even, again, substitute teachers, teachers, they can just look that up, they can find who they need to speak with, and they can send them an email. But it all starts with basically looking at the opportunities that are presented on our website, because we always list all of them there first.
And if they have more questions, they can call 628-3905.
That's our number.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing so much about our Human Resources Office.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS, Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you're having a great story ideas or information you'd like to share, email us at nps_news@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.